Lights up bright, dope, Campbell Stadium is alive. Seminoles rise and fight to survive. Helmet gleam under that blazing sun. Florida State where champions run. Seminole sideline 365. Feel the roar, we're coming alive. Garnet and gold in the battle we thrive. This is our house where legends arrive. Turf torn up under Seminole feet. The war chant pounds to the heart's own beat. Chop through the noise like a storm in the sky. 2025, we reach for the high. Seminole sideline 365.
Welcome back to Seminole Sideline 365. My name is KB, and with me, as always, is the old man. And we got some things to talk about. If you missed our show on Monday, we went over latest in the coaching flip and decommitments, and things have really escalated since then, which is why we're doing a show on Wednesday and not Thursday. And we said this is going to be a busy time of year with end of the year playoffs, January 2nd coming up, and we expected a lot of movement. There's been a lot of negative movement, which I don't think you can be surprised about. And I think the reaction of fans are surprised, but you knew this was coming when you retained your head coach after a 5-7 season. It wasn't going to be a lot of roses and balloons and parties and landing number one recruits. So anyone acting surprised about what's coming or what's happening, I think is in for a bigger reality check. But that's not to say that it should be all negative and that good things can't happen. But the question tonight is, what is the big plan for Mike Norvell? Because at the end of the year in his kind of exit interview to the fans, he said, I got a plan to fix this. We have a plan to fix. I think Alford kind of said the same thing. We support him. We have a plan. He's got a plan of how he's going to turn this thing around. And as Mike Norvell said, I've done this before. I can turn it around again.
Yeah.
So far, we're not.
He said that last year for this year.
Well, he said it again this year.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And so far, people are saying, well, the plan looks a little weird so far based on who is decommitting and the lack of people and the people we're going after or targeting. So we'll get into that tonight. We'll talk about some of the recent decommitments today and on Tuesday. We'll talk about, we do have some people as well who are looking like they are going to be visiting Florida State. So that's positive news, and that's something to track. So we'll go into that. And then we'll get into anything else that comes across the timeline or anything else that you guys in the chat want to go through. So be sure to hit us up in the comments. Anything that you guys are hearing, anything you want us to discuss, put those in the chat. And the old man is going to be monitoring that for us. But let's go into the first thing. Let's go into what's up, Mike. Good to see everyone here tonight. And whether you're watching this live or recorded, we appreciate it. And we appreciate the likes and the subscribes. It means a lot to us. So, let's dive into it. So the first one I want to talk about here is Cam Davis. So obviously, some people acted surprised with this announcement. I wasn't surprised by this. Obviously, we had a 7-man running back rotation, and Cam really wasn't even a part of it. And I think that was kind of the writing on the wall for him as a player. I would have to say. I don't think he was happy with his production or his playing time. I know he was kind of banged out throughout the season, but it felt like it was kind of a redshirt year for him. And they were trying to, either he asked for that to be protected, or the coaching staff decided it was in the best interest for him, because that's, he really didn't, I don't think he burned when he was actually healthy and available, because we kept talking about each week, is this the week we see more Cam Davis? Is this the week we see more Cam Davis? And that never came to be. And he only played in 3 games this season, just to clarify. So he got his red shirt, because last year was featured last year in his true freshman year. So he gets to keep his red shirt. So he'll have at least 3 more years of full eligibility to play. And now he enters the transfer portal, where he'll be available for teams, and he'll have his freshman year tape available to teams to look at, how he produced, how he played. He had in his freshman year, 177 yards, one fumble. It wasn't a great year, but it wasn't a great year for the team at all. But at least he has some real-time tape that he can show teams when he goes into the portal. So let's start there. Was this your expectation? Do you think it's a huge blow for Florida State? And where do you think he lands in terms of G4, Power 4 conference, G5, or beyond?
I don't think it's a big surprise to me based on how we saw his season unfold.
Mhm.
I think there were some weaknesses that they felt he never fully developed when he was here at Florida State.
Yeah.
And some of that was pass blocking. A couple of games when he was in there, I saw him just get as strong and as big as he looks. He's not super tall,
Mhm.
and I think he was leveraged by taller defensive ends and linebackers or blitzing backers, and they knocked him on his ass a couple of times.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
I think pass blocking was an issue. I think catching the ball, we saw a couple where they threw him the ball on a little bit of a outlet pattern, a little swing pass, and he couldn't make the catch. I I think you and I had talked about a little bit too, his running. He doesn't really, once he gets to the line, he's not real dynamic in putting the foot in the ground and shifting to another way. He's
Yeah.
more of a bulldog type runner.
Yeah.
And they couldn't even find a role for him in the short yardage game.
No.
So
No.
given that, I don't think it's going to be a huge loss of potential for Florida State. There's certainly, he hasn't been productive, so you can't say it's a big loss production to make up. So in that regard, I don't see it as a big surprise. Now, where does he end up? That's a real good question. I mean, I think some people are going to look at him and say, this guy has the physique of an NFL running back. Well, that may not mean a lot when you put him on the field against D1 competition. But we hope Cam goes out, finds a home, and can develop to his fullest potential.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think this was just kind of this is a position of attrition because it is one of your deepest positions, regardless of everything of record and stuff like that. But you do have a room. This is one of the rooms where you can afford to lose a couple of guys, and retain the right people. And I think Cam is just a consequence of that. And I think this is the right move for him and the right move for Florida State to free up the slot, especially because you brought in another high school running back. And so, yeah, it's just better for him to reset, get it, he preserve that red shirt and go on and get a new position. I think he'll probably, there's a higher likelihood that he may end up at a G5 type of a position. And that may be more suitable so that he can, once again, he needs to get reps. He needs to get starter reps.
He needs to get reps. You're exactly right, KB. He needs to get reps someplace.
Yeah.
Even if he could go to a Tulane, he could go to a JMU. Oh. Okay, I call them stepping stone programs.
I mean, those are high level G5.
He may have to go in and compete for the second or third position. You know, who may not be the bell cow, as they say, but he's got to get more reps. It does you no good to sit on the bench. You can't
unless you want to be the back. Unless if he's like, I'm fine with being a role player and
no back,
my degree.
No back, no running back at his young age wants to say, no, I don't want, I just want to be a backup. No way.
Well, then I think he needs to set expectations and go somewhere lower, like you said, but I think even lower than Tulane and JMU.
Wasn't he a 4 or 5 star coming out?
High 4-star player.
A high 4-star player, but he has limitations that he has to work on. So wherever he goes, now, could he follow David Johnson to Arkansas? Yeah, David Johnson's been around him a couple of seasons, right?
And was a recruiter for him.
And recruited him.
So that would be a big sign too. To your point, that would be a very big sign that if David Johnson doesn't bring him,
that's right,
or doesn't, that's probably a negative sign. But also, I don't know the composition of the Arkansas running back.
And Cam can't be asking for big money. So if David Johnson, if he doesn't lean that way, or David Johnson doesn't try to make a pitch for him, it does tell you something.
But that plays in the equation for Cam and all these players. that is part of the negotiation process too. You may be able to land at a higher, like a Power Four conference team if you say it's less about the money for me. I just want to be able to compete for that role. You can pay me less, so then they don't have to. Okay, you're willing to compete, and we see high ceiling for you. Okay, and you're willing to take less and compete for that position. Then we don't have to allocate. That's okay. Let's go. We'll assign you that scholarship spot
or
and sign you
KB.
for a bit less.
They can give him a contract that has a lot of incentives in it.
Yeah,
A
so he
very
bets on
low
himself.
base
He
or
bets on
a
himself.
acceptable base
Yeah.
to motivate him
Yeah.
to do the certain things, and then you will get those incentives.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
it'll be very interesting. I think he's going to get picked up.
Yeah.
I mean, when
Right
he goes into
now-
the portal, somebody's going to take him. The question is where and when.
Right now, On3 has it ranked as the number 11th running back available
In the portal, going
Yeah.
into the portal.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. But there'll be
Well,
more. I mean, there's obviously going to be
doesn't have
more.
much history of production at this point. So,
And once again,
not
there's going to be
surprised.
more people who jump in, but right now they have him slotted at the,
Right.
I think the overall number 87th ranked player, but
okay.
yeah, 109th or
This is
11th running back.
not like when Trayshawn Ward went into the portal. Trayshawn Ward left Florida State with good numbers, right? And remember, we said he's going to be a significant loss. Cam Davis is not a significant loss to this football team.
That's not to say he couldn't be a great player somewhere else. So,
But he wasn't a great player here.
Not yet.
He could
No.
he could be a great player. He could end up in the NFL. But productive wise, statistic wise, he doesn't have the analytics to say that we would throw a bag at him to keep him here. No, I don't
talking
see
about
it.
performance. Someone who did perform this well for this team is Jabril. This is someone you do lose, and I think this is
Big
something
loss.
That's a lot. And we were discussing this on Monday, and that
he's a starter. Big loss
Yes.
starter. Yeah.
And what we were talking about on Monday was that he announced his new management representation. And someone had tweeted, the tweet we put up was, oh, this means, it looks like we've retained him, but no, it was more so he's got new representation, which means he's negotiation time, and then a day later he puts himself into a portal, which could mean just because people pop in the portal doesn't necessarily mean that he can't come back, but there's less of a chance. There's a high likelihood that they're not going to come back, because usually you would negotiate internally and say, hey, I'm going to jump in unless you meet this number, and if they don't meet that number, then you do put that paperwork in and you go in. So it's less
we've had returnees, KB,
but not high profile guys, not high profile guys.
No, not high profile. Well, who was our linebacker? The small linebacker. He did really well.
Once again,
he went to Colorado and came back.
I wouldn't say he was high profile.
Okay. Well, he was one of our better linebackers during the Norvell era.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's fair to say. He might be the number one linebacker. The bottom line, KB, is just what you said. I think these guys, they could be. You don't think that Florida State would invite Rawls back if he doesn't get what he wants?
Absolutely.
The portal now is a leverage point. And the only way a university won't bring a guy back, unless they set up a policy, say, listen, your performance is good enough to stay here. We're willing to pay you X, which is a good amount of money. You still don't want to do it. You want to go to another team where you want to leverage us. We're not going to get leveraged. If you leave and get in the portal, we're not welcoming you back. You are not welcome back. I believe that goes on in business sometimes, right? You are not welcome back for whatever reason a person leaves. It could be a high performer, a low, whatever. Yeah. Would Florida State ever say that? I don't think so. They're not going to say it to Rawls. They're not going to say it to any player. But I think there's a lot of leverage games going on. I think that goes on in all areas of business. Football is a business.
Yeah, but you're not leveraging your own school by popping into the portal, in my opinion. I think
you are.
Those negotiations.
Sure you are. I disagree.
A lot of the negotiations will happen before that happens, but there's two phases to it. The first phase is before you pop in, the two sides are already talking to avoid that, and then the second phase is you pop in, and then the public flag goes off that, okay, we can now publicly discuss and stuff like that. But once a guy pops in, I think the percentage of you retaining that guy is 5%, 5 to 10%. I don't have the metrics to back that up, but you see very few guys come back to the school once they're publicly in the portal. Very, very
Yeah,
few kids come back once they're publicly in the portal. That's why it's critical
that's
once
true.
they're still enrolled or still with you
Okay.
before they put in the paperwork, you retain and get that done. So that
But-
tells me that Florida State did not match the number, or they decided, yeah, we don't see the value that you put yourself at, whether it's $1 million, $2 million, whatever. Some people are floating around $1 million, stuff like that. And they said, we don't see the value there, or we're going to have to allocate that at other positions. And we're going to let you put your number in and see what you get. Now, that's not to say, to your point, that maybe he doesn't get what he wants in the portal and that he couldn't come back and they could agree to terms again. But I see that as very little likelihood at this point in the process. So they determined the value wasn't there for them.
I agree with most of your statements. I say, though, I think an agent, these guys have agents now, could say, okay, Jabril, let's get into the portal, and then I'll continue talking to Florida State. There's no rules that say the agent can't keep talking to other schools and Florida State at the same time, saying, listen, we have this number in mind. These are the numbers that we've been offered. Jabril would love to stay at Florida State. He wants to work with Tony White. He's already done that. I think for Jabril, it's easier to stay at Florida State, but he needs this money. I believe negotiations continue on, whether you're in the portal or not. The most significant players and producers from last year, which was a shit year, okay, to say straight, I believe it's probably in their best financial interest to test the market unless they get absolutely what they want by the Noles. And I think that's just business. That is business. And these guys know it. They know these rules could change at any time, and they're going to take full advantage. And you know what? I'm not sure I blame them. If it was my son, if it was me, I'd probably do the same thing. Okay? Playing football is a very short window. Okay? And right now it's chaos, and why not take advantage of chaos? That's my thoughts.
Yeah.
But again, let's summarize. Jabril Rawls was a number one starter in the defensive backfield for this football team.
He was your second graded cornerback and probably second graded, highest graded defensive back on your team.
And maybe has the highest potential of them. And so, yeah, I mean, is he replaceable? Maybe. If we get the right guy out of the portal, he's not going to be replaced by anybody on this football team right now that I'm aware of. And he will be a loss. So he has to be replaced. You have to replace that productivity.
Well, you're going to have to hope that guys like Zay Thomas, the freshman you brought in this past season, Ricky Knight, Charles Lester, the guys that you're going to have to hope that
Ricky Knight left. Isn't he playing baseball? I thought he left.
No,
I could be wrong there.
That was
BJ Gibson.
That was BJ Gibson, receiver. Okay. Zay Thomas, though, Charles Lester, Jamari Howard. These are guys. You played 7 or 8 cornerbacks last year. So your hope, once again, I think it was one of these things where it's like he asked for too high of a number. They said, well, why did we bring all these young guys in if we're not going to play them? So, it goes back to Surtain. He recruited all these guys. We got to play them at some point, right? If he was such a great coach, great recruiter, we got to play these kids. We can't, why, so you either are going to lose 3 young guys to keep 1 older guy. It's one of those things. So you're not going to make the fans happy. The more I look at that roster, would you rather go the youth movement and go with Jamari Howard and Lester and see what these guys finally have, or pay a guy $1 million who was hurt? Jabril played only 7 games last year, 7 of 12, because he was banged up. Yeah, and I thought he played well in those games. Wasn't, can he replicate that over 12 games? Is next season going to, I don't know. Is he worth the money? That's what the staff determined that he wasn't. And so they're going to go youth movement, I believe. Maybe they'll go in and try to find another kind of like Jerry Wilson, who I thought underperformed last year as well. But will they try to bring a veteran in to match with these younger guys and mesh it again? Most likely. But
Jerry Wilson's done, right? Jerry Wilson's done,
yes.
Right?
To my knowledge, yes, I believe
he's there is a lawsuit my searching across social media for all the answers and questions. There is a lawsuit, I understand, right now in Nashville to grant all players a 5th year of eligibility, not including a red shirt. A 5th year instead of 4 years of eligibility, you would now get a 5th year. Now, why? If a court's going to say, yeah, you get a 5th year, why not say 10 years? I don't get why it would be an extra year. What would be the argument? And that's another night, another subject.
Let's not go down that road. Let's talk about what's actually going on.
But isn't that interesting? That's a lawsuit going on right now. In that, I sent you with a video of Drinkwitz. He talks about that. Yeah, a little bit.
We'll talk about it on another show. But so you have cornerbacks available. They decided he wasn't working. You did lose Kai Bates, so we'll have to see how many of these younger guys they can retain and how many of them they want to retain. But I think they are going to go youth movement at that position. The next guy we got to talk about is Randy Pittman. Today announced, and the fan reaction was not good on this one. Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, fans, right or wrong, they were not happy to see this because they see this as, if you're keeping Gus Malzahn, this was Gus's guy. And
but Gus ain't paying him. Gus is not paying him a bag of money to go somewhere else.
No, I agree. But what the fan reaction is that this would have been a retention target for you. Okay, but then what is your reaction?
These guys, KB, these players are professionals. They don't care.
Who are you retaining then? Tell me that. Who the hell are you retaining at this point then?
No, wait a minute.
Tell me.
I'm not into that.
I don't give a shit if they're professionals. Randy Pittman's not going to go out there and get a $5 million. He's not that good. But who is Florida State targeting for retention right now? Because they have no offensive linemen and they have very few defensive linemen. Good linebackers. Who are we retaining? Where's all this money going? Unless they're going to go deep into we signed 30 high school kids, so that's taken care of.
All I'm saying is,
where is it going?
There's 2 parts to your question or your statement. There's 2 parts. One is you said fan reaction. The player. If I'm the player, I don't care what the fan reaction is.
Shit.
What do you? What was the? Okay,
that's not what I'm saying. I'm just telling you what the fan reaction was.
Wait a minute. I'm making a statement on it. The fan reaction when he left UCF was probably negative. He comes in here for 1 season, okay, and the fan reaction to him leaving like disloyal. There's no loyalty between player and schools anymore. There's some players that have changed, and I'll bring up one later, changed 5, 6 every season for 6, 7 seasons. It's crazy. They don't care about the fan loyalty. The old college football is gone. Now that's just the one thing. Now your next part of your point is, who is Florida State going to retain? I would have liked to have retained, like you would have, a Randy Pittman. I'm sure Gus Malzahn would have. The question is, what did they offer him? What did the Barrels End or whatever the hell money bag they have, what did they offer Randy Pittman to stay? It's hard to believe they didn't offer him a decent package. He's your starting tight end who had very good productivity for the most part. A couple of fans I saw, Randy dropped the pass, Pittman. Well, come on. It's a game. He is the best tight end you have in your room. He's the starter. So you have to try to negotiate to keep him. We don't know. It's not transparent. Nobody in the business knows, but those are the 2 sides to the statement. So I'm in agreement with what you're saying, but there's 2 sides. The fan thing is irrelevant. The fans don't like Norvell staying, but he's here. So what's the fan reaction?
Wasn't about loyalty or bullshit like that. It was about retainment and who. Okay. If we're letting Jabril Rawls go, who is now ranked the #1 cornerback in the transfer portal.
Wow.
And now we're letting
big money.
And we're letting Pittman go, who's now the #9 tight end in the transfer portal. We're either going full youth movement, or we're going to have to pay to
Okay.
replace those guys,
Okay.
and with the similar talent, which is going to be expensive. So what is
Okay.
the retainment
Let's go
strategy
there.
here?
Yeah, let's go right there. You just mentioned it, and you and I talked a little bit offline, not a lot, about is it a youth movement? Is it going to be a youth movement in 2026 without putting out a lot of money, because either one, we don't want to put out the money, or we don't have the checkbooks to put out the money? That is the basic question. And do you believe that they're not going to write so many checks and they're going to keep the money for 2027, 2028, and just go with purely youth movement with a few pieces from the portal? I'm asking you that first, and then I'll give you my answer.
What it's pointing to me right now is that they're going to try. It looks like they're going to try to retain as many of the younger high school recruits that they can. They're going to try, at the tight end position. When you look at just like the cornerback position, it looked, you have Zay Thomas, you have Jamari Howard, untested guys, but guys that you liked when you brought them in. It looks like they're going to try to retain those guys and tell those guys, hey, your time is now. We're not going to retain the guys ahead of you. It's your time. So stay, keep your contract, move forward, improve yourself. Tight end position looks to be the same. I mean, you brought in Chase Lofton last year, highly heralded out of Nebraska, got hurt, but they liked him. Landon Thomas didn't play a lot last year. That was kind of a head scratcher, but you liked him his freshman year. You would like to see, can he step up and be, if you retain him as a young guy, can he stay and prove himself at that role? You also like the tight end. You brought in another tight end out of high school that is supposedly be pretty good. I believe he's a 4-star that you want to see if you can keep him and elevate him from the high school ranks into being what Landon Thomas was sort of his freshman year. So I think they are.
And what do you do with Amari Williams? Does he come back?
He's saying tight end. He's saying defensive end. Even Mike Norvell said that in his. He said that in his interview. He's going to stay at defensive end, but I think they're going to say, we believe in our recruiting strategy. We believe in our, in our evaluations of these positions, and we're not going to overpay because we can't overpay and then lose people. We can't lose depth either. So we got to stick with who we've brought in, or we're going to get burned at both sides. And I think because in the past, Florida State hasn't had quality depth, and people have left because they're not getting playing time. And so I think this is Mike Norvell's last gasps is saying I got to use some of these youth guys so I can save money and fill in the gaps with, I can't overpay because I got to fill in gaps, the most immediate gaps on the offensive line, at the linebacker position. I got to use that money wisely. Now, it's not fair to say that Florida State isn't going to spend money. I mean, Florida State NIL budget, I think, was top 15, top 20 last year. They spent money last year to get guys. So I wouldn't say that is the case. But they have to spend that money wisely because there are a lot of critical holes on this team, obviously. And so embracing the youth movement can save some of that money because these guys know they can't pop in the portal and say, give me money bags, because they have no tape. So he's got to bet that these guys step up, and then he can use that NIL money to get some critical pieces where he needs them. That's my thought.
Well, it's hard to believe that a coach that is really on a hot seat. I mean, the Flames are going to be there all spring, all summer, into the fall when the schedule starts. It's not an easy schedule. It's hard to believe he's willing to go a youth movement in his 7th year, because a youth movement has a lot of issues, including losing a lot of football games. And if a youth movement, unless it really, has a miracle year, like the U.S. hockey team against the Russians, the miracle on ice, it's hard to believe that a coach struggling to stay in his job would put up with it. I think what's going to happen is they're going to have to go into the portal heavy again. And we'll talk about that more during the show here. I think they're going to have to go. I think they're going to try to try to sell this youth movement. But on the other hand, they're going to have to bring in at least, I'm just guessing, at least 12 to 18 portal guys they believe can start and give valuable reps during the season. At least that many. Okay. I really believe that. I don't think it's, hey, we're not spending any money. Guys can leave. We're just going to play all the young guys. We're going to play we're going to play the top freshmen coming in the class. They're going to lose a hell of a lot of football games, maybe all of them, except the couple of cream puffs they have coming in. I just don't see that. I think that would be embarrassing to the university. It'd be embarrassing to AD Alford. I don't think that's their grand scheme plan. We don't know what the money bag is to bring guys in. I just don't see it. I think they're going to have to rebuild this football team with people that are on the team. They think play now, but haven't played a lot, and portal guys. The question is, what is the quality of the portal this year?
Well, good transition. That is a very good transition, because I think I called this, but I said the types of guys they're going to have to go after and spend their money, because Alford is not going to give Mike Norvell, a sitting duck coach, a blank check. He's not going to say, hey, Mike, here's $50 million. And we know Alford's working under this imaginary salary cap. And so, once again, you aren't going to give a lame duck coach a blank check anyways, but you're also, with Alford, he works under the salary cap, imaginary salary cap. So I said, and I said this 3 shows ago, I said, the only way Florida State can succeed in this 1 year is that if they bring in great coaches who can evaluate, which they don't even have a GM right now. That's an issue. But you have to bring in guys who can evaluate better than they have. And they have to go and they have to scour the country and find kids who are athletic, who play above their star rating, and who are just natural football players. And these guys have to be hungry and are willing to step up from lower levels of football and play at Florida State, and maybe take and willing to not be $1 million kids, but are trying to prove themselves at the Power 4 level. And so some of these kids could be FCS, some of these kids could be from, Sun Belt, conferences, stuff like that. And that goes, and what I saw today kind of indicates that may be some of what is going on, because you look at some of the visits they have set up here. D2 All-American Tristan Exline, he's going to be visiting Florida State, I believe, in the next week or so. They have a kid like this coming in for a visit. And so that goes along with my line of thinking of what I said a couple of weeks ago, is that they're going to be searching for kids like this who are risky picks, because you don't know how his game is going to translate to this level, to the ACC. And that's not to say the ACC is a gauntlet by any means, but it's a whole different game when you go from D2 All-American to ACC play, when you're playing against 300-pound defensive linemen and stuff like that. So this is what they're doing. This is their strategy. They're going to try to find these under the radar guys who they're not competing with Georgia and Ohio State and Florida and Miami.
They're looking for the next Jared Verse, right?
I think that's going to be a lot of the strategy, honestly. Guys
and Brandon and Braden Fisk. They're looking for those two guys or models of those two guys, right?
They're trying to find diamonds in the rough.
It's hard.
And
it's a needle in a haystack. And now what they save by doing that, they save a lot of money and they bring in motivated guys. The question is, do they have the ceiling? That's what Verse was. That's what Braden Fisk was. They were highly motivated. They weren't those guys, were they in NIL? They weren't NIL guys, right?
Yeah, they were.
Oh, they were? Okay. I couldn't remember.
It was early NIL days, but Verse was those guys were wanted. Verse definitely was a guy that was heralded, and a lot of schools wanted him.
I would love to see his initial numbers when he came to Florida State in terms of money bags. That would be very, very interesting. But a kid like you're showing on the screen now, he would be, I suspect, highly motivated. He wants to get to the next level, and you may get him for a bargain basement price. The question you said, does he work out? Well, who the hell knows? You could bring in a D1 portal guy that may not work out and pay him a lot more. So,
and this is even comparable with Jared Verse. Jared Verse, like I said, was wanted by he was a
He was.
top 30 at transfer portal recruit. Like, he was wanted, and you won that battle, and it paid off. I think it was the same thing with Fisk. This is below that. I mean, this kid, like I said, has accomplished at the D2 level, but
D2.
you see the offer list so far. This is I mean, Fisk was a great grab because he was, I think, nationally in the transfer ratings, like the number 10 DL and 183 ranked, and I'm looking at On3 correctly. But he was less heralded when it came to the transfer portal and stuff like that. So that's more of a similar comparison.
Okay. This is a good time for me to bring up why you have this guy on the board here. You remember a guy named Josh Griffiths, who was a big country edge rusher coming out of IMG Academy in Bradenton, Florida. Yeah. Remember him?
Yeah.
Well, I came across some very interesting information. He just entered the portal again.
How?
Wait a minute. Let me explain this.
He was under Willie Taggart.
Josh Griffiths, big country, remember? Big country. He came to FSU. I think he had 2 seasons at FSU. Then he went to the portal to Jackson State with Deion Sanders.
Oh my God.
And then he went from Jackson State 1 season to Tarleton State, wherever the hell that is.
Yeah.
Then he went from there after 1 season to Oregon State. And now he is going to go into the portal for a 7th season. And I suspect there was a COVID year and a redshirt year. You know, who the hell knows? He is going to be playing potentially.
Well, he was dismissed from Oregon State, apparently.
I don't know that.
Well, that's what it says online.
I didn't even see that. Well, that's
allegedly,
alleged. But we don't know. I didn't even see that. He played at Oregon State, dismissed or not. It said he didn't play, like he was injured or some shit. I don't know. But he's going into the portal officially for a 7th season.
Maybe Coach Prime will take him back.
So you don't know who you're getting in this grab bag when you go out there.
Okay, I think it's unfair
I'm not comparing this guy to Josh Big Country Griffiths, all right? But obviously, Florida State's not going after Josh Griffiths at this point.
No. But yeah, I mean, I think you're gonna see more and more of these types of, because once again, like I was kind of, to reiterate my point, is that you're not the stage anymore, you know, where you can afford to go into recruitment battles with the top programs. Because one, you can't leverage that we're coming off a 10-3 season and that we're going to be competing for a national championship next year, the playoffs. And two, once again, you have those budget restrictions of Alford and what you're able to offer. And three, you have to rebuild your roster in the trenches, especially. And so if you only had like 5 or 6 main holes to fill, then you could be super aggressive in negotiations. But with the way you've recruited, you have to rebuild every single year. You can't be the top bidder every single on the top guys. And that hurts you in free agency because you have to go after so many positions, and you even have to build depth at those positions, and that hurts how well you can bid for players. And so I mean that falls on the coaching staff, that falls on Mike Norvell. So yeah, it sounds like I said, you already have a couple of guys that are coming in, and these are guys that I would say are pretty under the radar in terms of their list of who's targeting them, and I would say most fans are kind of disappointed because of, you're not used to bidding against teams like Arkansas State and the Citadel and or Washington State and Rutgers and stuff like that. But the other guy I wanted to mention who they're looking at is and who's supposed to come in here is and I'll bring him up here, is this cornerback here, Bradley Jones from the Citadel. So once again, under the radar guy. 3-star prospect out of high school. And this is who he's rated as the 11th overall cornerback. So right now you see Jabril Rawls is the number 1 in the transfer portal. Right now, this kid is listed as the number 11th. So, and Kai Bates, who is listed as number 9. So once again, you got to take these rankings for what they are. Kai Bates hasn't literally played, and he's ranked as number 9.
Yeah,
You know,
that's all sports speculation. We gotta write an article. We've got to staff out the website. That's what that is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they estimate on what people are getting paid. Nobody knows that. That's all speculation. Because if you're paying your mortgage and you got to fill out these articles, that's what you do. You know?
Yeah. So I mean, this kid, it was funny. He described FSU's interest in him as lukewarm. So I don't know what that means, but he Florida State's on his
means nothing.
It means if we don't land something else, we'll extend you. We'll be your best offer most likely.
I have to believe when this portal opens on January the 2nd, if Florida State doesn't get a quarterback out of there in the first 7 days, maybe 5 days, there's going to be problems. Then you will have to go pretty much maybe with youth at the quarterback spot. You won't have a proven starter.
I mean, yeah. I mean, right now, and I can pull up the latest, but I mean, it is flooded right now with quarterbacks, and it should be.
Yeah, but proven ones that you would bring in on your team.
I think right now, looking at the board, and I'll bring it up here in a second.
And the question is, why you're bringing it up is, I wonder what the what is the over and under on what these guys want? I mean, is every quarterback on there? You think $1 million quarterback as a minimum?
No.
As a minimum, 750. 750 would be the minimum, probably with incentives. You may be able to give $500,000. This is incredible, the money we're talking about. It's almost absurd. Okay, that you could do $500,000 on a guy with incentives, and a lot of that incentives would be how many snaps you take, your productivity in terms of yards passing, touchdowns, and blah blah blah. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, incentives. If you looked at Norvell's incentives, he's got incentives in his contract, and that guy makes $10 million base.
Yeah.
So,
well, you can see the estimated NIL value, and most of these top guys, the top 5 quarterbacks, are saying are around 1.6 to 2 million for these top 5, and I'd say that's probably right on these top 5 guys. I mean, you have Lagway at number 4, Raiola at number 3.
And you,
I don't think you land
the top 5 guys. What do you think? It's a guess. What do you think teams are willing to pay these top 5
this
guys?
range? I think this NIL range is pretty. I think it's a minimum of what this NIL range is probably. I mean,
really?
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, I think DJ was getting this at Florida, and if he goes to, they're saying Miami and LSU are looking at DJ. If those schools are going at DJ, then they believe that DJ will get better from what he was at Florida. That means, if those schools are looking at him, then they think that Florida mishandled him and that they're willing to invest in him and pay him what he deserves, or pay him what, a little bit less or the same as what he was getting at Florida, because they think he has a high ceiling in the right system.
Which guy of the ones you have on the board there, which guy do you think fits Gus Malzahn's offense the best? Another, somebody that has some legs to get some offensive production, some runs there, and can have enough accuracy with the ball, which Tommy didn't have. Who do you think there would best fit our offense?
I mean, it's a little bit tough to say. I
don't mean to put you on the spot on that one.
I like Brendan Sorby just because I think he's a very good passer, and he also has the ability to run. I mean, if you look at his numbers, and you could say, well, he was playing in the worst conference.
No, Cincinnati plays some decent competition.
Yeah. So this kid, you look at his stats.
And he's a big kid. He's a big kid.
Big kid.
Not
you look at
player. He's not kids anymore.
Good QBR, good TD to interception ratio. He's been there for 2 years. He's improved year over year, every single year. But you look at his rushing stats too. A very efficient runner with the ball. 9 TDs on the ground last year, 9 TDs the year before, consistent with that, stayed healthy. I really like this kid, but once again, I don't think you have the ability to. You would have to throw a bag at this guy. You're gonna have to say
He's
this is
played
our
good
kid.
competition. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he struggled against Utah a little bit, but
Yeah, everybody has a bad game.
300 yards against BYU, 214 against
TCU, he had a pretty good game. They lost, but
yeah. So this guy is, I think, one of my favorites in terms of what he can bring. But once again, he's the number 2 quarterback. I don't think Florida State's going to spend $2+ million on the quarterback. I just don't. If you have so many holes to fill, you could do that. If you were Miami right now, you could do that, and that's what Miami will do. Is Miami's going to spend on one of these guys?
You know what? You may have to spend 2.5 as a minimum to get a proven quarterback. You know why? The big reason? They don't have an offensive line. There's no offensive line. There's no quarterbacks coach. Okay? There's 2 good reasons when a guy comes in, any of these guys, and they say, who's your quarterback coach? Well, we don't have one yet. Who's your general manager? Well, we don't have one yet. Hey, can you tell me who are the guys on the offensive line? I'd like to look at their numbers on PFF grades. Well, we don't have any guys yet. We have Lucas Simmons and we have Otto. Really? That's all you guys got? Really? Okay. You might have to overpay to bring a guy in who doesn't know what the shit's going on in your team. Okay.
I don't think...
Is that realistic? No, wait. Is that realistic to say?
No, because I think if you look at the NFL, if you can bring in a great quarterback, but if you have a shitty offensive line,
but they can see who's on the team. They see who's on the offensive line. We don't know who's on the offensive line right now.
But I don't get it. You're saying overpay for a quarterback to ensure you have one before the. I think bringing in a great quarterback would be a disaster if you don't.
I'm saying you have to hang a big enough piece of bait on the hook to bring guys in, because otherwise, you can't answer the questions I just laid out.
You can't do both. You can't.
It's not like saying. And the other thing is, we don't even have a number 1 wide receiver at this point, unless Robinson comes back, Deuce comes back. I don't think he's going to do that.
But this is what I'm saying. You can't afford to go after a big name quarterback because you have too many holes to fill every single year.
Well, you can if you put out a big enough money.
You have to fill your offensive line. You have to fill your defensive line. You have to fill your linebacker.
Well, $20 million can buy several people. I'm not saying it buys everyone.
But you need more than several. You have to rebuild your entire offensive line.
I agree.
And you have to rebuild your linebackers. You have to rebuild, your defensive line.
I understand. All I'm saying is, if this was one of your relatives or you were the agent for one of these guys, you'd be asking those questions, KB, and so would I. And you know why I'm asking those questions? I'm leveraging up the bag, increasing the bag for my guy, because they're going to have to go after, like you say, the guy at West Florida. Okay.
They're likely. I would say Colton Joseph is probably in the range of guys that they're going to look at and get. The guy at ODU.
They say that's who they're looking at.
At number 29 in the rankings here, that's 37-ish overall. Like, this is probably the kind of kid that you can afford.
And why is that? Because he wants to make the jump from a low stepping stone program to a national brand, because he wants to go to the NFL. So he likely would be willing to come at a smaller piece of bait, despite the problems you have in your system, and take a shot. And how many years does he have left?
He's got 2 years left.
He's got 2 years. So he could come in and try it for years, and see what goes on.
Yeah,
but, I think we're both on the same side here, and that is, there's a lot of openings on the offensive side, and you can't answer a lot of these guys' questions, which is embarrassing as hell. And that's the point. Everybody's waiting for the general manager to be named. The general manager is going to have little or no impact on the 2026 season. Little or no impact. The roster is pretty much going to be set in the first few weeks of January. Really? There's one portal season now. 2 through, I believe, 15 January. So your roster is pretty much going to be set, okay?
Yeah.
except for guys in the playoffs. And that's how many teams? 12? 12 in the playoffs? You got teams there that can enter the portal, which there'll be some guys. There will definitely be some guys coming out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As soon as teams lose on Saturday, you'll see some guys jump in the portal.
For sure.
It's too lucrative not to. Too lucrative. And
Yeah.
Florida State's going to be very active in the portal. I don't think that's going to change much. I don't think there's going to be a total youth movement going on. And they're going to have to spend some money. And they're definitely going to have to spend some money at quarterback, or they got to just go to the guys they have on the team now at quarterback and roll the dice, which would not be pretty.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's no disrespect to the guys on the football team or in the quarterback room or any other position room. It's the truth of the matter. There's no statistics to say any of them will be great or will not be great. We don't know.
yeah. And if you look at last year, and once again, I know the timelines have changed. A lot of our commitments came around, well, some of them came in early, like I think Tommy committed around December 11th. So I know the dates have changed, right?
Was that an open? I think that was a portal time, right?
Yeah, but but it's different for graduate transfers. They can transfer before the deadline, I believe. I think they're available to commit right away. So, we got him very early in the process. And so that was, and that's where I always talked about with him. I think you got him at a discount because once again, he was coming off of sending out some of the season Boston College and the benching and stuff like that. And his connection with Gus Malzahn and all of that. So I think you did get a discount on him. And obviously, I don't think he had a ton of suitors in the portal necessarily. But you got him really early in the process and locked down. And I think you did a show because it was breaking. Like you did a show right when it happened because it was so quick in the recruiting in the portal process. Because I think he was a graduate transfer. But then you got Biscuit, then you got Stephon Thompson. But it was different last year because you did get a bunch of guys in early December, and I think, like you said, it'll all come rushing in as soon as the portal window opens and people can start committing. But you had a lot of December action last year, so it's a little bit different this year in terms of news and commitments, stuff like that. So. It'll be that first week of January. I think will be very, very busy. You'll start to see how this team is forming. So, but the visits and stuff like that will be telling as well who's committing to a visit and stuff like that. But it's interesting to see.
Okay,
what
now
last year.
we've also had some expected. Okay, I don't want to ever I don't want to ever say they're gone because again I'm going to hammer the official news release media of Florida State, and that's the Seminoles.com. That's the official site of news for Florida State. That's their official channel that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
And they don't put out much of who's officially left the team. You almost have to go to the roster. You go to the roster, and sometimes that's not even updated. So if their name's still in the roster, to me, they're not left the program yet. That's how I look at it when I'm scanning the media. But here's a name that has come up who is expected to go into the portal, and that is Omar Graham Jr. Not an All-American linebacker, probably, I don't know, NFL, undrafted free agent maybe down the road. He's going into the portal. Your thoughts on the loss on defense with Omar?
I mean, we forget he entered the portal last year and then came back to us.
There you go.
Because I think once again, I don't think he necessarily got the offers he wanted. And last year, I thought he improved a lot. And you were able to retain him, which I thought was good. And then this year he was like linebacker 3 or 4. And he
played a lot of snaps though. I mean, yeah.
He was like fourth in snaps at linebacker this year.
Really?
He really regressed in terms of his usage this year. And that's not to say, like you said, like it wasn't like he wasn't on the field, but you look at his overall snap count. He was like the 3rd or 4th linebacker in terms of total snaps this year. He was behind Cryer, Nicholson, Elijah Herring, and then he was 4th in total snaps.
But he had production. He wasn't like sitting on the bench all the time.
No. I mean, but when you're talking about a team that needs linebacking help,
and most teams do. Most teams do.
he wasn't the go-to guy. You look at his grades here, you know, he wasn't lighting up the world. So some people were disappointed to see this happen. But he's not a dominant linebacker. And we don't have dominant linebacking play. I mean, we haven't for years. Like I said, I thought he improved last year, and you can see his tackling grade was good last year. He has steadily improved overall in the last 4 years. You can see it went up to 65
Yeah, he's
defensive
not a
grade this year.
great pass coverage guy.
But
I think he doesn't have great lateral movement.
he's an
However,
average linebacker. He's an average linebacker in the ACC.
he's an average linebacker in the ACC. Yeah.
And that's not saying, and he's got one more year left. And so I
But
think he's going to test the waters.
There are teams that need average linebackers as the third or fourth starter or a backup, quality backup. Those guys get hurt.
So he's going to test the waters again, see if he gets a better offer. And this could have been something where FSU was like, hey, this is where you stand in the lineup. And, you know, we're going to probably try and see if we can get somebody over you. Maybe, but that's once again why they're looking at that All-American guy.
I don't think, you know what? I'm not sure that's the message they would give an Omar Graham Jr. or anyone else. I think what they would say is, Omar, we believe, you know, this is where you are on this football team. We see you in a similar role for the 26th season. And here's the deal. Since all these deals are basically one-year deals, they're all one-year deals, basically. Here's the deal we have for NIL. Here's the other money, whatever the cap money, whatever the figures are. And here's what we think you are. He apparently didn't want that. Most guys, if you're playing in a system and you're starting to understand a system, the last thing you want to do is pack your damn bags, say goodbye to everybody, and go off to some place, Montana or Utah or wherever, to start over. Because to do that, you have to have a real attraction to do that. And that attraction is money. It's cash. Or you're just so disgusted with your current situation. Let's face it. Okay? Those are the real options. Here's what I want to ask you, KB. Let's say he doesn't get much attention out there. He comes back to Florida State. They offered him, I don't know, I'm just going to pick a number. This is a random number, just for example. They offered him $400,000 with some incentives. And he comes back. He says, I didn't find any attention. I want to come back and play. If he came back, would you say to him, yes, you can definitely come back. We'll get you a spot on the roster, but you're now going to get $200,000 instead?
Yeah, I mean, I would do that.
That's what I would do. I mean, there has to be consequences for people's actions, right? There has to be consequences. And those consequences are you can't just let people leave, test the portal and the cash bags, or you're going to have everybody doing that. So you have to do it on at least somebody, and he might be the guy. I would have thought a Biscuit would have been the guy. It's now you're going to have to choose. You stay in the portal and take your chances of not getting picked up. You know, there are guys who sit out entire seasons when they go into the portal. They don't get picked up. Or you're going to have to take a salary decrease is what you're going to do.
Or once again, you know, they may say, well, we saw enough out of AJ Control to roll with him next year. And we saw some improvement.
Really?
Walk on.
Really?
Well, you look at his grades. Look at his grades in the snaps.
Okay.
One that has
maybe
sacks
you're right.
last year.
I haven't done it. I haven't looked. So maybe you're right. You think he's a starting 3 linebacker?
I mean,
he should be in the
you
top
look at
4 linebackers.
He got 18
He's a
snaps against
walk-on.
Wake, 16. Okay. I mean, 24. You know, once again, a lot of the garbage games here, but against Wake, he had pretty good grades in 18 snaps. And you know, are they saying is this a guy that could contribute? And we only
is he a guy you want on the field for 30 snaps?
No, but I don't really want any of our linebackers on this.
Okay.
You know,
I
mean, none of our linebackers.
I'm pushing you a little bit.
But we also have younger guys too. So we also have younger guys. I mean, AJ, no, I don't. You know, but I haven't seen him a lot.
I think what is happening with Mike Norvell's football team is guys know they can go out and test the market. They might even have that conversation, but you're welcome to come back anytime if you don't like the situation before a certain date, right? Yeah. If you don't like it, come back by this date and we'll work you a deal. You know, I think that's kind of the word. I don't have any evidence to that aspect because the program is so locked down, so tight, and you don't get any information on that.
You also
So,
did sign
that's my
one of your
guess.
top recruits in this past class was Isaiah Williams, who's a linebacker, and you expect him. The expectation is that he can play right away, and maybe this is a little bit of that.
That'll be
That is
interesting.
one of the expectations is him to play right away. So
There's very
maybe there's a little
few
bit of that.
freshman linebackers that start right away.
They have
Now
very high
they get
expectations for him.
reps. They get reps, but we'll see. I hope he does.
He was
I
a
hope he's
highly
that
regarded
good.
kid who was wanted by Florida, Georgia, and Ole Miss, and
Okay.
top 5
Okay.
linebacker in the country.
Okay.
And
Maybe he's another KJ Bolton.
maybe there's
So,
maybe there's a little
you
bit
know,
of
who's
that.
a defensive back, obviously, but
But,
maybe that's good. Very
yeah,
good.
maybe that's it. So we'll see. But they obviously do need some more competition in that room, and that's why they were looking at that D2 kid. But I'm sure there'll be more. I'm sure there'll be more. So
Okay.
so yeah,
Now the
those,
last guy,
yeah.
I don't think he was a major. I don't consider him a major loss or a major production loss or somebody we can't replace, and that's Jaden Jones at defense, and he's expected to go into the portal as well. He was the JUCO big DN from JUCO, right? He really didn't. Now there's a guy, like you said, they were looking for the needle in the haystack. They came up with this top JUCO guy, Jaden Jones, and he really didn't produce much under the lights.
Yeah, I mean, he played a decent amount of snaps.
Yeah. Sack rate was not productive.
Yeah,
Pressures weren't productive.
He's been here for 2 years. He didn't play last
year. He got
year.
outplayed by the twins, by Mandrell. He got outplayed by a freshman. And there's a true freshman story. Those guys came in. Those are the guys we need to retain. I hope the hell.
Gerald Desir outplayed him as a true freshman. Yeah. And I mean, but Jaden Jones, though, I mean, looking at his grades, he graded out better than Jason Jenkins, who didn't have a great year as a transfer in.
Nope.
Dante McCray played pretty well as a transfer, and then I'm not sure about his eligibility for next year. But yeah, I mean, Jaden Jones, once again, it's one of those things where it may have been, hey, we're going to look at other places. This is our number. If you don't like it, go. But you also, it was the first year of Amari Williams. So I think like Mike Norvell said in his interview today is that we want Amari at defensive end. He wants to be there too. And you're going to see probably Amari Williams snaps at defensive end.
They got to leave that
kid.
They got to leave him alone. They got to leave Amari alone. Let him play defensive end. Supposedly he likes playing defensive end. He wants to be on that side of the ball. Leave him alone. Okay? Let's not keep swapping him back and forth. You know what that does to the development of Amari Williams? It kills his development, is what it does, because he'll end up not going to the next level. But he was a great guy. He could be utilized on both sides of the ball. And no, there may be a gadget play. You want to bring him in to a game a couple of times on the offensive side. Leave him alone on the defensive and let him flourish there.
Yeah.
Flourish or fail, one or the other. That's my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and that would be my thoughts as a parent or his representative. Okay.
Agree.
You've got some guys, if you mentioned in the tight end room, Landon Thomas. Everybody liked it. Everybody liked that player. And the other players you mentioned, develop them into players. You don't throw the ball that much, so you're basically teaching them blocking. All right? How hard can that shit be? All right?
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Throw the ball more to them as well, and you'll get some better tight end in here.
Yep. But with that, Florida State fans got to remember too is a lot of great players are leaving other teams as well. It's not just us who are losing players.
Oh no, of course
not. A couple of the guys that you're going to see is all of the CC selection offensive lineman from South Carolina, former freshman all the SEC. So these are the types of guys that are going to be available. These are the types of guys that you, like I said, you're probably not going to be able to land. But Florida State may go hunting on a couple of these guys and say, okay, let's bid on a couple of these guys to see if we can land them. But these are going to be the guys that are going to be tough for Florida State to win the battles on, because they got a lot of holes to fill. But it's not just Florida State losing players. They're not, we got to remember that a lot of teams are losing guys. But these types of guys, the leading receiver, I can't, there's a few of these guys that Florida State should go out there, should talk to. And you do have things to sell. You can sell Deuce Robinson getting 1,100 yards last year, being one of the top receivers in the country. You can sell these things to certain players. You can sell the Desir twins' performance and development last year. So they just got to position things the right way and say, hey, we got time to give you. We got ways to develop you. Because you can actually sell those things. There was positives from last year. Wasn't pretty. But you can sell these kids on certain things. A lot of the other programs, they can sell money, but they can't necessarily sell playing time. And some of these kids, may want money, but they also want to be able to get tape for the next level.
Oh, absolutely.
And so it's a balancing act there. It's a balancing act there. So
do you think it's a little weird that Deuce Robinson has not announced either going to the NFL yet, like Darrell Jackson Jr. announced and other guys have announced? I don't know what the deadline is on that. I know they can send in something, get looked at, and they give them kind of a preliminary
draft
notice, which makes sense, which is good business. Do you think it's kind of weird he hasn't announced? Do you think he's waiting for an offer? Do you think he's waiting for an offer from Florida State? Or deciding he could go into the portal to get picked up by maybe a playoff team that, like, say, an Ohio State, a Michigan.
He's not going to Michigan. He's not going to Michigan.
No, well, no, I'm just saying the theory that he could be, if he has an agent, which I suppose he does, to leverage all of these things, to look at the possibilities, because those agents are going to know the deadlines on all of this stuff. If you're going to declare for the draft, here's the deadline. You could probably pull that up and see what the deadline is. But I think he's really got his options he's looking at. I just can't see him coming back to Florida State under any option unless they really put up some money. I think he could get better money elsewhere.
Yeah, I think he is going to see what his draft grade looks like, and see what it comes back on, and see if he's going to be a first round, second round, third round. I think he'll be a top 3 round guy based on what Johnny Wilson got. I think he's, similar, if not a little bit better than Johnny Wilson. I think he has similar issues at times, but I think he's a little bit better than Johnny Wilson was as a player. And Johnny Wilson was a top 3. What was Johnny Wilson? Johnny Wilson.
Well, first of all, they like Johnny Wilson's physicality. Now,
so Deuce Robinson is
Johnny Wilson hasn't played out well so far in his NFL career.
Okay, so wait, sorry. Johnny Wilson was a round 6 guy. So that's where that. Okay, so that changed things. So I forgot he was round 6. So if Deuce Robinson gets a 5 to 6 round, 5 to 7 round evaluation, he may say, well, yeah, I mean, if I can get $2 to $3 million by Ohio State, let me come back and run it back. That, take the paycheck to come back to college and go to Ohio State or Georgia or somewhere. That's absolutely what he's waiting
I
for.
think those top playoff programs would go after a Deuce Robinson now that he's produced, and they know he can do that because of his size and his demonstrated ability, that they would say that would be a huge asset, even if he's out there as a damn decoy, which he wouldn't be. He'd be a target.
Yeah.
Whether he's the number 1 or the number 2 target, who knows? But if you had 2 outstanding targets, just like an Ohio State has. But I think he could make some money out there. I wouldn't doubt it. Now, the fan reaction would be negative when he leaves, but you know what? It's all business. The fans have to understand it's business from the ticket office to the concession stand to what players are being paid and how long they'll stay. That's the nature of college football. It's a free agent market for coaches and players, period. And if fans don't like that, they can go watch soccer or something else.
Okay, I don't think the fans would be upset. I think most fans will understand the position he would be in. It would not be a good scenario to come back to Florida State based on unless Florida
From a
State
business standpoint. From
signs
a
a great
business
quarterback.
standpoint.
If Florida State somehow signs a great quarterback, then yeah,
Plus, we
come
don't have a
back.
quarterback. That's another
But
reason.
if they do sign a great quarterback, then okay, yeah, then he should come back because he was able to do it with not a great quarterback. So yeah, they signed a great passing quarterback and wants to be part of that. Okay, come back. But yeah, I don't think I think most fans would understand if he decides to sign somewhere else. I don't think most fans would be
Yeah, I
upset
just
about
want
that.
people to understand really what we're dealing with. That's all.
But yeah, I think he's just gonna wait for his draft grade and then go from there, which he
Yeah.
should.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's some of the big things. The last thing to look at here is some of the news from the ACC. And one thing to keep in mind with him too, just before we go to that, is that there is a decent draft class for receivers too. So he may be looking at how receiver heavy the draft class is. I know there's the kid from Ohio State, Carnell Tate, and Mekhi Lemon from USC, and Denzel Boston. So there's a good amount of good receivers coming out this year. So it may be good for him to wait another year, but also then Jeremiah Smith is coming out. So yeah, he's got to understand the market and where that's going as well. But yeah, the big news too at the ACC this year, before we kind of wrap things up, is the scheduling for next year, and then just getting dragged for this new conference. Some teams have 6 games, some teams have 7 games, or some teams have 9 games versus 8 games, and just disaster. The ACC continues to make a joke of themselves, and it's just comical what they continue to do. So as you can see here, you just see. So Florida State will be one of the 5 teams that plays a 8-game conference schedule with a minimum of 2 Power 4 non-conference games in 2026. And then the other rest of the teams will play 9 conference games with a minimum of 1 Power 4. And then they're going to come up with some new tiebreaker rule, because they don't play the same number of conference games. This is going to be a mess. I'm sure that, as people have commented, I'm sure,
and that's what happened this year with the Duke thing.
Exactly. I'm sure there won't be some controversy at the end of the year if there's 2 6-8, or 6-8 and a 7-1 team. It's why do they do this to themselves? Why don't they just add another team so they have 18 teams instead of Notre Dame counting, semi-counting? Why don't they just add like James Madison or Tulane or someone and just balance out they just do continue to make a fool out of themselves and the fools out of the teams in this conference and make them look like idiots. This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. It's embarrassing. I guarantee
another
you,
good reason for us to get out of the ACC, which to me is the number 1 priority issue for this program.
And in 11 months, I guarantee you there'll be some controversy around who gets the championship game or not. But this just looks stupid on paper, and it's confusing for the fans, it's confusing for people in the media, and it's just dumb. It's just Jim Phillips is one of the worst business minds in the world, and like you said, we got to get out of this conference because it's really embarrassing for the brand and anyone associated with it. So yeah, that's it for that. Anything else that you want to go over tonight?
No, I think the only thing that, I always try to bring a little bit of basketball news is we got hammered basketball. Luke Laux' Seminole Warrior men's basketball got hammered again in Dayton. Another 20-plus point loss. This team is spiral downward, and I really like the coach. His team, though, the roster is just not effective. Okay, I want to do a lot of basketball tonight. I'm going to try to put out something separate, the old man special on basketball special in a program. I tried to do it today, but it didn't work out for me. He's trying to bring an NBA model in where they shoot a horrendous amount of 3-point shots, like 35 to 40 per game. And they run a fast pace. The problem with this has been against quality opponents. If you're not consistent in hitting a high percentage, which basketball as well, is like, I don't know, the average is like 35 to 38%, maybe something like that. That's even the NBA average.
Yeah.
And for Florida State in a number of these losses, they're shooting like 22%.
Yeah.
And you're not getting a lot of offensive rebounds because you have no true big men to be down low. And they're getting hammered on the defensive end because they don't have big men. And their big men that they have are ineffective. They're not really D1 type players that are good enough. I thought we'd get a little bit more out of Chauncey Wiggins. He's like a 6'10" guy, transfer from Clemson. I was hoping he'd get some double-doubles. That really hasn't worked out. Alex Sten is not, he's grabbing some boards, but he's not scoring. So it's left up to like five shooting guards, basically to do the scoring. And the last thing quickly is their foul shooting is horrible in most games.
Yeah.
Horrible. And if they're going to win any close games, it's going to be at the foul line. And when you're shooting 60% in a games, that's not going to get it done. They've had one game, I think it was like 80%, which I said, okay, we fixed it. Then they go back down to 60-some percent.
Yeah.
It's bad. I'm going to talk about it more on some basketball things. And I know people don't give a damn about basketball. I get it. The numbers are dropping off. Nobody cares about basketball. But you know what? I think it's interesting to see. My support is with Luke Laux. And I want to know how he's going to fix this basketball team. That's what I'm interested in. I wish I knew how big a bag he has. And it's good. And his press conference.
It's not big.
Okay.
They've already confirmed they do not have a big NIL budget right now.
And to our viewers out there, if you haven't seen one of his interviews or post-game interviews, they're refreshing and candid, not like Mike Norvell. And I saw a Mike Norvell interview. I don't think you posted the video on that, or did we? We didn't take that down. The one I sent you. No. Mike Norvell did an ESPN interview. I think it was a regional ESPN, if that makes sense, down in South Florida area. He was down there looking at some recruits, and he answered that. He doesn't give many interviews. And he said his basic interview was the same word salad you always hear. But he cut on a couple of things, a timestamp I sent to you, KB. It was weird how he was answering it. Well, we're going to host the trophy again. And, and all this raw stuff that just didn't make any sense of what he really has in reality. And he talked around a lot of the stuff. And I get it. Coach 101, I get it. It's part of the game. But it was like he was delusional when you hear that clip, that he's living in a mirage or something of that nature. And then he was asked a question about, it should be very interesting, the spring game coming up in 2026. And we didn't even have a spring game last year. Remember, it was closed. It wasn't open to the public. Yeah. And he danced around it. He didn't say, well, last year we didn't have one. We'll probably won't have one. He just kind of danced around it. I just said to myself, this guy, I'm not a Mike Norvell fan. I feel Mike Norvell has overstayed. This will be his 7th season. Nice guy, bad coach, needs to go.
There you go.
That's mine. That's it.
All right. We'll end it there. Well, thank you all for joining us tonight. We went over
and now,
a lot. Oh, God.
Maybe we'll sneak in a show maybe next Monday or Tuesday.
Yep.
To see. Yeah.
But I think the next thing will be monitoring his visits and who's confirming, because once again, now it's starting to leak out. We talked about 2 of the visits that Florida State has upcoming. The kid that the guy I talked about last week was the West Florida transfer quarterback, Marcus Stokes. It looks like he has a visit with Syracuse starting on January 3rd. So that'll be a big topic for our next show, is who are the confirmed visits for Florida State? Are they good visits? Are they bad visits? What positions are they targeting? Because we know already the positions that are leaving Florida State. Which positions will they go full youth movement, and which positions are they actively recruiting? So that will be the thing to track for next week. But until then, we appreciate you guys.
Wait. This has to be one of the best comments of the night. I was talking about basketball, and look at Tony says, can't play the drinking game with the b-ball coach. Norvell's doing a number on my liver. He can't take two coaches on at once. Hey, that may be one of the funniest comments of the night. But listen, we appreciate everybody who came in here tonight. You're taking time out of your evening for us. We do this for the fun of the fans, fun for us. And we love you guys, and we appreciate it. If you're new to the program, please hit the subscribe button, and that helps get our program out there a little bit more. And we hope it will. I'm going to push KB to get a show out here Christmas week, man. Okay.
There you go.
Maybe. You know what? Christmas Day. I don't know. You never know. Hit that bell. You'll know when we're on.
Yeah, and enjoy y'all's weekend, because there's some good college football and college basketball and NFL on Saturday. So make sure you clear your schedules and check out those playoff games and some big basketball. And enjoy it as well. So, yeah, we'll check in next week, see how things are going with Florida State and beyond. And until then, have a great rest of your week. And we'll speak with you soon. As always, go Noles. Go Noles. Take care.
Noles.
See you soon.